Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to this, another of our sittings. And we are hoping that this will be the last segment of the topic, the rules of marriage. And I might have to make suggestions to split the rules of marriage into 3 different titles so that it doesn't look monotonous. And please send out invites to your friends, because some people said they got stuck outside the room and they can't get in. Please send out invites to your friends. Somebody just told me they got stuck outside the room and they can't get in, and you need to show the room you are in. Those of you who are inside the room, you need to show the room you are in, like I told you to do many times before. You need to go to, I think, Actions. You go to Action, change status. Actions, change status, then show the room you're in. So people can click on you and get into the room. We are hoping that this will be the last segment of the topic. The rules of marriage. So, inshallah ta'ala, without any further delay, we will continue the topic. The next chapter that I have in front is the rights of the wife over the husband. The person taking notes, the next chapter is the rights of the wife over the husband. The first right is food. Food is the first. Secondly, clothing. Food, clothing, shelter. And the fourth is to take her to the doctor. So he has to pay the doctor's fee, the bill. If she gets a prescription, it's on him to buy the medicine. So doctor is the fourth. And the evidence for this is the ayah, Al-Qawwamuna al-Nisa, men are the maintainers and the providers, the protectors of women. So you have to maintain and provide for the woman. Surah Nisa, verse 34. Surah 4, verse 34. The other rights of the wife is kindness. The other rights is kindness. That is number 5. So Allah told you, Allah has commanded you in Surah Nisa, verse 19, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live together with your wife in kindness. Okay, men are protectors and maintainers of women. Okay, shukran. Men are the maintainers and protectors of women. So this is the hujjah used by the scholars to say you have to provide for her food, clothing, shelter, and to take her to the doctor whenever she becomes sick. All of that is financial maintenance. The 5th right of the wife is kindness, because Allah Ta'ala said, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live together with your wife with ma'ruf. Ma'ruf means kindness, and with dignity and nobility, and to live with her with honor. So when you live with your wife with ma'ruf, it means that your neighbors shouldn't hear your voice. That's what it means. You are supposed to live with your wife with such kindness and loving in a civilized manner. Your neighbors should not hear your voice. You're not allowed to live like the animals in the Amazon jungle, the animals in the African jungle. You and your wife should live so loving, the neighbors don't hear your voice. That is a proper Muslim. That is the real Muslim. Because Allah said, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live together with your wife with honor and with kindness. The sixth right, admins bring me the hadith. The best of you are those who treat your wives the best. That is the other evidence. خيركم خيركم لنسائهم. The best of you are those who are the kindest to your wives. أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسن خلقا وخياركم خياركم لنسائهم. The best of you are those who treat your wives the best. Okay, you can find the hadith. Okay, this is the other hadith I wanted to bring. The woman was created from the rib. Okay, shukran. The believers who show the most perfect faith are those who have the best character, and the best of you are those who are best to their wives. Okay, shukran for that hadith. Please bring me the hadith. The Prophet said, be kind and gentle towards women because they were created from the rib, the uppermost rib, which is crooked. And if you try to straighten her out, you will break her, and to break a woman is divorce. Okay, shukran. This is the hadith. I don't need any more hadith. Yes. So, this is the evidence used by the scholars to say that it is compulsory on you to live with your wife with kindness. Because the Rasul said, Istawsu bin nisa khairan. Be kind and gentle towards women. Because they were created from a rib, the most crooked rib, which is the uppermost rib. And if you try to straighten her out, you will break her, and to break her means divorce. So I urge you to take care of women. And it will break, and if you leave it, it will remain crooked. If you leave it, it shall remain crooked. If you try to straighten her out, you will break her. And to break her means to divorce her. So I urge you to take care of women, to be kind and gentle towards women. Now, this hadith can be found in Bukhari, volume 4, and the number is 548. So, what are the other rights of the wife over the husband? We have mentioned 5 rights, and the 5th one is kindness, and we have brought evidence from Quran and Sunnah to prove that you should be kind to your wife. Surah Nisa, verse 19, and the hadiths of Bukhari that we have quoted. Number 6, you are not allowed to abuse her verbally or physically and then go to bed with her. It is haram to abuse your wife verbally or physically and then go to bed with her immediately after. And the evidence for this is Surah Nisa, verse 19, where Allah said, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Be kind and gentle towards women. Not allowed to abuse her verbally or physically and then go to bed with her immediately after. And the evidence for this is Surah Nisa, verse 19, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live together with your wife with honor. Right? You are not allowed to expose her bedroom secrets. That's the 7th right. The 8th right, it is compulsory on you to be jealous over her. The 8th right, it is compulsory on you to be jealous over her because of the hadith of the Prophet, where the Prophet said, the person who is not jealous over his wife, the youth, will never go to paradise. Abdullah ibn Umar reported that the Prophet said, 3 people will not enter paradise, and Allah will not look to them on the day of judgment. The one who is disobedient to his parents, the woman who imitates men, and the 3rd is the youth. The word youth means a man who is not jealous. In Urdu we say bikhairat. A man who is bikhairat, a man who has no jealousy over his wife. So this is the the 8th right your wife has over you, you have to be jealous over her. The 9th right is that you have to go to bed with her once every 4 days. And this fatwa was passed by Umar ibn al-Khattab. And the evidence to prove that you should go to bed with your wife is Baqarah 222, that when she makes ghusl from her menstruation, you should go to bed with her immediately afterwards. Baqarah 222, Allah said, when your wife makes ghusl from her menstruation, you should go to bed with her immediately afterwards. And it is haram for you to go to bed with her before she makes ghusl when the menstruation stops. The 10th right is that you are not allowed to cut her off from her family. Where is the ayah? You are taking too long to bring the ayah. Baqarah 222. Allah said, when the woman takes ghusl from her menstruation, you should go to bed with her. Okay, and when they have purified themselves, then go in unto them as Allah has ordained to you. Go in unto them in the manner as long as it is in their vagina. The person who translated the Quran was very specific. Yes, this is the ayah that as soon as she takes a bath from menstruation, you should go to bed with her. It is her right, and you have to go to bed with her once every 4 days. The 9th right, the 10th right, you're not allowed to cut her off from her family unless they are antagonistic towards Islam, because of the hadith, the one who breaks from the ties will never go to paradise. The one who breaks off from the ties will never go to the paradise. So this is the evidence to prove that you cannot break your wife off from her family. You are oppressing her when you break her off from her family. The only time you can break her off from her family is if the family is antagonistic towards Islam. But as long as her family did not show any antagonism towards Islam, it is haram for you to break her off from her family. And the evidence for this is Surah 60 verse 8. Surah 60 verse 8 was revealed for kafirs. Allah said, the kuffar who didn't fight you for the deen, Allah didn't stop you from associating with them to show them kindness and justice. This ayah was revealed not for Muslims, for kuffar. When did the ayah come down? Why did Allah reveal the ayah? Because Asma had a kafir mother, and she came to visit Asma and she brought gifts. And Asma didn't allow her mother in the home. And Allah did not like how Asma treated her mother. So Allah revealed this ayah. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين. Allah didn't prevent you from those kuffar who didn't fight you for the sake of your deen, that you should deal justly with them and with kindness. So if your wife has a kafir mother, a kafir father, and they did not attack the deen with their tongue, they didn't pass remarks against the deen, and they did not show any antagonism towards the deen, then you are not allowed to break her off from her family. If you do that, you are oppressing her. However, if her family are staunch Christians who are trying to make her apostate from Islam, then you can break her off from her family. Why? Because they are staunch Christians. They are evangelical Christians who are trying to break her off from Islam, and they are trying to make her apostate from her deen. They want her to lose her faith. The 11th right of the wife over the husband is that you should protect her honor. You should protect her physically, spiritually, morally. You should protect her in every way. You should protect her honor, and the evidence, you should protect her in every way, physically and morally, ethically. You should protect her in every possible way because of the ayah, Surah 4, verse 34. Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna 'ala Nisa, men are the maintainers and protectors of women. Men are the maintainers and protectors of women. Surah 4, verse 34. We now go to the next chapter. What are the rights of the husband over the wife? We have exhausted the rights of the wife. We will now go to the next chapter. What are the rights of the husband over the wife? The first right is obedience, complete obedience, unless he tells you to do something haram. Unless he tells you to do haram, because there is no obedience to the creation when you are disobeying the Creator. If your husband didn't tell you to do haram, then you should obey him. If he tells you to do haram, like to smuggle drugs from one country to the next, from one state to the next state, he wants you to smuggle drugs from New York to Washington, D.C., and you refuse to obey him, you didn't do wrong, because to dabble in drugs is haram. The second right, you are not allowed to lend out his belongings behind his back without his permission. It is haram to lend out his belongings behind his back without his permission. And the third, so if your husband is on Hajj and somebody wants to borrow his car, if he is contactable, then you can lend the car with his permission. If your husband is not contactable, you are not allowed to lend out his belongings without his permission. Number 3, you are not allowed to have friends who he dislikes and bring them to the home without his permission. You are not allowed to keep friends who he dislikes or bring them to the home without his permission. Number 3, you are not allowed to have friends who he dislikes. You cannot associate with people he dislikes. And you are not allowed to bring them to the home without his permission. You cannot have friends to the home, not allowed to keep friends he dislikes or bring home without his permission. Number 4, you are not allowed to leave the home without the permission of your husband. However, if your husband is not contactable, you are allowed to leave the house without his permission for your needs. You need to go to the supermarket to do your weekly shopping. So even though he's not contactable, you're allowed to leave the house because it's a necessity and you need to go and do your weekly shopping. You can't stay in the house and starve to death. You have to go and do your weekly shopping. So that is permissible because it's a necessity. But if your husband is contactable, you need to seek his permission before you leave the house. Number 5, you are not allowed to refuse his call to bed because of the hadith. Whenever a man calls his wife to bed and she refuses, all the angels in heaven curse the woman until the break of dawn. Could you bring me the hadith, admins? Yes. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, if a husband calls his wife to bed to have sexual relation and she refuses and cause him to sleep in anger, the angels will curse her till morning. So a woman who practices this hadith, she doesn't refuse her husband's call, that is a good wife, because she pays close attention to this hadith and she fears the curse of the angels, then that is a good wife. A woman who pours scorn on the hadith and doesn't care, that is a bad wife, and you are supposed to divorce her, because the man who has a disobedient wife and did not divorce her, his salah is not accepted. The man with a disobedient wife and did not divorce her, his salah is not accepted. The 6th right, and this is the madhab of Abu Hanifa Malik and Shafi, the sixth right is that the wife should do khidmat for the husband. Khidmat means to serve the husband. So she should prepare his food, his clothing, and keep his house clean. All of that is called khidmah. She should serve her husband. The Hanbali madhab says it's not compulsory on a woman to do khidmah to the husband. All which is compulsory on her is to have sex and nothing else. Wife should serve khidmah her husband, cook clean, yes, to cook clean, to prepare his laundry, etc. This is the madhab of Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and Imam Shafi. Ahmad ibn Hanbal said, I beg to differ. It's not compulsory on a wife to do these things. The only thing which is compulsory on her is to have sex and nothing else. The scholars who say that she should do khidmah, they bring the hadith of Fatima. The Fatima asked the Prophet for a housemaid because she became tired from doing khidmah for her house, for Ali. And the Prophet refused her the housemaid and gave her the tasbih. Go home and recite Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, Allahu Akbar 34 times. It is called the tasbih of Fatima. So the Prophet did not give her any housemaid. All he gave her was the tasbih and told her to go home. So the scholars, they use this hadith as hujjah that a woman should do khidmat for her husband. Okay, the Prophet said, surely this is better for you than what you wanted. She replied, I am pleased with Allah and His Messenger. She was always satisfied with whatever Allah wished for her. Do you have any takhrij for the hadith? I want to know. It's in Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nisai, Ibn Majah. Can you find the hadith with takhrij? Okay, shukran. Bukhari, and the book is 53 and the number is 344. Okay, shukran. And the person who is compiling the notes, when you quote the hadith of Fatima, please bring me the takhrij in the notes. The more takhrij, the better the notes, because then it gives the notes credibility. And when we were studying in Saudi Arabia, if we should quote hadith without takhrij, the sheikhs would throw it back in our face and they wouldn't accept it. They are very, very particular and strict about these things. When you write your dissertation or a thesis, you have to bring takhrij. It appears as if the Jamhur are accurate that the wife should do khidmat for the husband if he provides for her food, clothing, and shelter. So if the husband maintains the wife financially, then she should do khidmat for the husband. It appears as if the Jamhur is correct. Jamhur means the majority, because they were able to bring hadith to back up their stance. Even though I myself, I follow the Hanbali madhab, you are not allowed to practice in regards to madhab. Asabiyya is clannishness and rigidity in school of thought. You have to speak the truth where the truth is. It appears as if Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and Imam Shafi, their opinion is stronger because of the hadith they rely upon, that Fatima used to do khidmat for Ali. And when she came to the Prophet and asked for a housemaid, the Prophet gave her tasbih. Go home and recite Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, Allahu Akbar 34 times. He said, that is better for you than a housemaid. And she said, I am pleased with Allah and His Messenger. And she went home and continued to do khidmat for Ali. In Saudi Arabia, where prevalent, the Saudi girls, when they get married, they have housemaids. Their husbands provide them with housemaid to clean the house and to do the laundry. And some of the housemaids, they even cook. Because when I was living in Saudi Arabia, many Saudis, they opened their doors to me. They gave me my own room to stay in. and then you'll have a housemaid bang on my door and leave a tray outside my door with breakfast. The housemaid will bang on the door and leave my tray outside the door with breakfast. And they bang on the door and leave the tray for lunch. So, all the Saudis I stayed in their homes, they have housemaids. Their wives don't wash, cook, and clean and do these things. How can a Saudi girl who's coming from a rich home, where she had 2 maids, 3 maids, now she's married, she has to do housework? That's not how things go in Saudi Arabia. The husband provides housemaid for these wealthy Saudi girls. They don't do laundry. They don't clean houses, vacuum the house, and these things. They have, some of them have 2 maids, and the richer you are, the more maids you have. So, this is what I experienced when I lived in the homes of Saudis. They all have housemaids doing the work for them, and their wives, they beautify themselves for their husbands, and they do nothing else. Some of them they study, so they will study. They have university work to do, but not housework. These girls are Hanbali girls, and the Hanbali madhab says it's not compulsory on a woman to do housework. The only thing compulsory on a woman is to have sex, nothing else. So the Saudis, they practice this fatwa to the letter because they are Hanbalis. So all these Saudis, the majority of them, maybe 90%, they have housemaids doing the work for them. Their wives beautify themselves for their husbands, and they don't do anything else. The maid is doing the work. So you have 2 madhabs in regards to a woman doing housemaid. The correct opinion is that of the Jamhur, that a woman should do khidmat for her husband because of the hadith of Fatima that the admins have brought to you on the screen. The 7th right of the husband is that the wife should be grateful to him, and she is not allowed to be ungrateful to him. Because of the hadith, when I went to Isra wal Miraj, the majority of people in the hellfire were women. And when Aisha said, why that's the case? The Prophet said, these women, they were ungrateful towards their husbands. The Prophet said, when I was shown hellfire, and the majority of the dwellers were women who were ungrateful. It was asked, do they disbelieve in Allah? He replied, they are ungrateful to their husbands and are ungrateful for the favors and the good. Narrated Ibn Abbas, I am sure this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. Yes, so the 7th right is that you should be grateful to your husband, and the 8th right, you are not allowed to fast nafil, the optional fast. Bukhari, volume 1, page, is that page 28 or number 28? Never mind. Is that number or is it page? When I said 28, is that 28, number 28, or I think it's number 28? The 8th right is that you are not allowed to fast. You are not allowed to fast. Volume 1, number 28. Okay, shukran. You are not allowed to fast the optional fast without the permission of your husband. So the Prophet said no woman is allowed to fast without. The Prophet said no woman is allowed to fast the optional fast without the permission of her husband. A Sahaba used to come home and break his wife fast by pinning her down. And women like to be pinned down by their husbands if she loves her husband. And when the Prophet found out, the Prophet said he pinned her down and performed his manly duty. The Prophet told the woman, no woman is allowed to fast, and bring me the hadith please, no woman is allowed to fast optional fast without the permission of her husband. And the 9th right of the man is that when he dies, you should mourn his death for 4 months and 10 days. So, when he's dead, you mourn his death for 4 months and 10 days, and you're not allowed to accept any proposal until your iddat is finished. And the iddat is how long? 4 months and 10 days. These are the 9 rights of the husband over the wife. The next chapter is the chapter of the Walima. The Walima means the wedding feast. Next chapter, please. You didn't find the hadith. No woman is allowed to fast optional fast without the permission of her husband. The next chapter, the Walima. The Walima of the Nikah is the wedding feast, and it is Sunnah Mu'akkada. Can you hear me? Am I on mic? Can you hear me? Okay, shukran. Shukran. What is the hukum for the Walima? The Walima is Sunnah Mu'akkada. Nothing was on the screen, that's why I thought I was not being heard. The Walima is Sunnah Mu'akkada. It is not fard like Dawood al-Zahiri believes. Dawood al-Zahiri claims it is fard to have a wedding feast, but the Jamhur, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal said that it is Sunnah Mu'akkada. I strongly emphasize Sunnah because the Prophet said to Abdurrahman bin Auf, Awlim walau bishat, have a Walima even if it's with 1 sheep. Awlim walau bishat. Whenever you are narrated Ibn Sa'd that from his father, from his grandfather, the Prophet said, give a Walima wedding even if it is 1 sheep. Okay, shukran. Bukhari, book 34, number 264. This was a commandment to Abdurrahman bin Auf. Have a Walima even if it's 1 sheep. The hukum for the Walima is Sunnah Mu'akkada. Dawood al-Zahiri claims it is fard, but the correct opinion is that it is Sunnah Mu'akkada. Whenever you are invited to the Walima, you should go because of the hadith. The worst food is the food of the Walima, in which the rich people were invited and the poor people were left out. The worst food is that of the wedding banquet, Walima, to which the rich are invited, whilst the poor are not invited. And he who refuses an invitation to a Walima disobeys Allah and His Rasul. This hadith can be found in Bukhari, number 4882. Yes, so the wedding invitation. Whenever you are given an invitation to the Walima of your Muslim brother or your Muslim sister, you should attend because of the hadith. If you did not attend, you disobey Allah and His Rasul. The scholars of Islam say, even though it is fard to go to the Walima, sometimes you're allowed to excuse yourself. If there will be music and alcohol and the dancing, men and women dancing, if that's the type of Walima they are having, you are allowed to excuse yourself, especially if you are talib al-ilm, a student of knowledge, or you are a scholar. Because of the hadith, anybody who believes in Allah and the last day should not be at a gathering where alcohol is consumed. So if the Walima has a lot of fawahish there, the Walima has a lot of munkar, even though it is fard for you to go to a Walima, you have to excuse yourself. The next chapter is secret marriage. Is it halal for 2 Muslims to get married in secret behind the back of their parents? The scholars of Islam, they debated this issue and they arrived at the conclusion that secret marriage is makruh. Secret marriage is not haram, it is makruh. As long as you have a wali to give the girl away and 2 witnesses, and you give the girl a mahar, and there was rida, agreement, nobody was forced to marry anybody, then this marriage, which is a secret marriage, is not haram because the 4 conditions of the marriage were met. So the 4 conditions of the marriage are as follows: agreement. That's the first condition, agreement. Secondly, the dowry to give to the girl. Third, a wali to give her away. And the fourth is 2 witnesses. So because these 4 conditions are met, if they did not announce their marriage, they did not do anything haram. The first condition, 2 witnesses, agreement, the dowry, and the wali. 2 witnesses, agreement, the dowry, the wali. Okay, shukran, yes, these are the 4 conditions. Now, as for the hadith that says, beat the drums and announce the marriage, this hadith is a da'if hadith, where the Prophet said, beat drums and announce the marriage openly. This hadith is a da'if hadith. Also, the great scholar of Islam, Ahmad Shakir, of Egypt, he had 2 wives, and the first wife did not know about the second wife until after he died. And no scholar past or present criticized Ahmad Shakir and claim he did haram. So even though he had 2 wives, okay, you finally found the hadith. Okay, it's not lawful for a woman to observe voluntary fast without the permission of her husband when he's at home, and she should not allow anyone to enter his home without his permission. This is a crucial hadith. I would like you to put it in the notes at the section where it is relevant, when I was discussing the rights of the husband, and I told you that one of the rights of the husband is that the woman is not allowed to fast without his permission, and this is right number 8. So, secret marriages are not haram, they are makruh. So, a person who done a secret marriage, you are not allowed to say that he is committing zina, and you are not allowed to say that he is living in sin, and you are not allowed to say that if a child is born from that marriage, which is a secret marriage, that child is a bastard child. That is going to the extreme, because secret marriages are not haram. The next chapter, can a woman prefer her parents over her husband? It is not permissible for a woman to prefer her parents over her husband. If there are 2 conflicting commandments, one is from the husband and one is from the parents, she has to give preference to the commandment of her husband over her parents, because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. If it were halal for a human being to bow down to another, I would have commanded the women to bow down to their husbands. Can a woman choose her parents over her husband? Yes. Can a woman choose her parents over her husband? If there are 2 conflicting commandments, one is from the husband and one is from the parents, she has to give preference to the commandment of the husband, because of the hadith, if it were halal for a human being to bow down to another, I would have commanded the women to bow down to their husbands, because of the special right over them given to the husband by Allah. The next chapter, what are the characteristics of a good husband? The characteristics of a good husband are the following 10 things. He should be pious. What are the characteristics of a good husband? So, whenever a sister is looking for a husband, and all of you in the room who are single, you are looking for a husband. Unless you are engaged, you stop looking. So, many sisters ask me in PM what qualities I should look for in a husband. I've been swamped with such a question in PM. What should I look for when I want to find a husband? So, sisters who have swamped me with this question, you don't need to ask me this question again. Here is the answer. The first thing you should look for is a pious husband. He should be God-fearing. And the second characteristic, he should be pious, God-fearing. The second characteristic, he should have good aqidah because of the hadith. مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whenever Allah wants good for you, He gives you the correct understanding of the deen. مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Please bring me the hadith. Whenever Allah wants good for you, He gives you the proper understanding of the deen. The third characteristic of a good husband, where is the hadith? Whenever Allah wants good for you, if Allah desires good for someone, He bestows on him understanding of the deen. Yes. So you are not allowed to marry a man with dodgy aqidah, with the wrong understanding of the deen, false ideas, erroneous ideas. It is haram to marry a Barelwi or a Shia or a Saudi Salafi. All three people are the greatest enemies of Islam. The Saudi Salafi believes you can snitch on the Mujahideen and hand them over to the Kuffar, and that to dismantle Sharia is a minor kufr. And there's a kafir in the UK promoting this aqidah by the name of Abu Khadija. The Shiites make takfir on the Sahabas, the Barelwis. They pray to the inhabitants of the graves. So you're not allowed to marry these people, the Saudi Salafi, the Shia, the Barelwi, the Goofy Sufi, the Qadiani, because they have dodgy aqidah. If you marry them, you are living in sin, because these people are outside the fold of Islam. Because all of them went against the ijma of the Ummah. The Shiites went against the ijma of the Ummah, claiming the Quran is corrupted when the Ummah said it is protected. The Saudi Salafis went against the ijma of the Ummah, claiming to dismantle Allah's Sharia is minor kufr, even though Ibn Kathir and Ibn Taymiyyah said it is major kufr. The Barelwis went against the ijma of the Ummah, praying to the graves, when the Ummah says you are only allowed to pray to Allah because we say Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'een. You alone we worship and you alone we ask for help. So all these retards went against the ijma of the Ummah. The Qadianis went against the ijma of the Ummah, claiming that there is a prophet after Muhammad, when there is no prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the second thing you should look forward in a good husband is what aqidah is he upon? Is he a follower of Snake Nazim? Is he a Saudi Salafi? Is he Barelwi? Is he Goofy Sufi? Is he a Shia? What aqidah is he upon? I was impressed. I was looking for a husband for a sister. This sister was only 18 years old. Only 18 years old. And the first question she asked me is, what aqidah is he upon? The third quality is that the husband should be trustworthy. Your husband should not be a con artist, a con man. He cons everybody he sees. He even cons his own wife. He should be trustworthy. Because the Rasul said what? La deen liman la amana lahu. Anybody with no amana, no trustworthiness, he has no deen. Please bring me the hadith. I've quoted it in this room 1,000,000 times. I'm sure you have it on file. La deen liman la amana lahu. Anyone with no deen, any man with no amana, he has no deen. So the other quality you should look forward to in your husband, he should be trustworthy. So I was swamped with this question from sisters. How can I find a husband? What should I look for? There is no faith for the one who has no trust. And there is no religion for the one that does not fulfill his promises. Yes. So the third characteristic you should look forward to is your husband should be trustworthy. And the fourth characteristic, he should be strong spiritually and physically. Your husband should be strong spiritually and physically. Now, the scholars who mention this as a characteristic, they bring a Quranic verse as the Hujjah. They quoted Surah 28, verse 26, in which, when Musa ran away to Midian and he was taken in by a family, the girl said to her father, listen to what the girl said to her father: Ya abati, istajirhu, inna khair man istajarta al-qawi al-amin. Oh, my father, hire him. Hire him. Who is him? Who is him? Him means Musa. The word him here is Musa. She's talking about Musa. Hire him. Verily, the best of men for you to hire is the strong and the trustworthy. The scholar said the reason why the girl realized that Musa was trustworthy is because he lowered his gaze. When he was in their company, he lowered his gaze. And she was impressed with his taqwa. So, the other characteristic that you look forward in a man when you are looking for a husband, somebody who is physically strong and spiritually strong. So, a man who is weak and impotent, he is a hopeless case. Why you want to marry a man who is weak and impotent? Only Kafir women do this because they're after the money. Kafir women, they do this, they are after the money. They don't care if the man is impotent as long as he has millions in the bank. She's going to have a lover behind his back anyway. She doesn't give a damn if he's impotent. He has money, I'm going to have a lover behind his back anyway. A Muslim woman cannot be like that. You can't have a lover behind the back of your husband. So, whenever you want a husband, you should go for the one who is spiritually strong and physically strong. And Musa got married to one of the girls in the town of Midian. The other characteristic of the husband is that he should be just. He should not be oppressive, and this is the fifth characteristic. He should be just and not oppressive, because zulm was made haram. The hadith, Ya ibadi inni haramtu zulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. O my servants, I have made zulm, oppression, haram on me, Allah, and I've made it haram amongst you. Therefore, do not oppress each other. Please bring me the hadith. Ya ibadi inni haramtu zulma. Ya ibadi inni haramtu zulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. Hadith 24 from the 40 hadith. Hadith 24 from the 40 hadith. Ya ibadi inni haramtu zulma ala nafsi. O my servants, I have made oppression haram on me, Allah, and I've made it haram among to oppress one another. So if your husband is tyrannical, he's going to oppress you, and you're going to suffer a nervous breakdown. So the good man is the one who is not oppressive. The other characteristic of the good man, he is mild-tempered. Or where's the hadith? Is the 40 hadith. Hadith 24 from Hadith Imam An-Nawawi. Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. O my servants, I have made oppression haram on me, Allah, and I have made it haram amongst you. Therefore, do not oppress one another. Hadith 24 from the 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi. Where is the hadith? You are taking too long to bring the hadith to the screen. I'm telling you where the hadith is found. You still can't find it. Hadith 24 from Imam An-Nawawi's 40 hadith. O my servants, I have made oppression haram upon myself and also between you, so do not oppress each other. Okay, shukran. Where is the takhrij? This hadith is Sahih Muslim. This hadith is found in Sahih Muslim. And please put the takhrij Sahih Muslim. Could you save this hadith because I've quoted it 1,000,000 times in the room before, and keep it on your files. This hadith is found in Sahih Muslim. The next characteristic of a good husband, he is mild-tempered. He is not quick to anger, and this is the 6th characteristic. And the evidence for this is Surah 3, 159, where Allah said, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It was by the mercy of Allah, O Muhammad, that you were kind and gentle towards your companions. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. If you were harsh-hearted with them, they would have broken away from you. They would have stopped being your companions. لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. So even though they disobeyed him at the battle of Uhud and caused them to lose the battle, still he was soft and tender when he was correcting his Sahabas, and by the mercy of Allah you dealt with them gently, and had you been severe and harsh-hearted, they would have broken away from about you. So this is the evidence that a real husband, a good husband, he is soft-hearted with his wife. If you are harsh-hearted, you are going to end up in divorce. You are going to live on your own, die on your own in old age. You are going to die in old age on your home. No woman in the world can stay with you because you are ill-tempered. You are hot-tempered. Now these men who are not soft and gentle, they kill women. Whenever a man is quick to anger, they kill women. When I was in Belmarsh prison in the UK, I saw a lot of men in prison who kill women. And the men who drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes, the nicotine destroys them psychologically, so they are hot-tempered and they kill women. And whenever a man has a small genitalia, he kills women a lot too because he is insecure. And because of his small genitalia, he is insecure. He accuses the woman of cheating even when she is not cheating. And he is frustrated. These men, they are hot-tempered and they kill women. The 7th characteristic of a good husband is that he is ambitious. He is going somewhere in life, because one of the questions Allah asks you in the Quran, Surah 81, verse 26, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ. Where are you going? This is one of the questions Allah asks you in the Quran. Where are you going? Surah 81, verse 26. فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ. The other characteristic of a good husband is that he is wise. Because Prophet Lut said to the homosexuals who stormed his house, أَلَيْسَ مِنْكُمْ رَجُلٌ رَشِيدٌ. Surah 11, verse 78. Don't disgrace me in front of my guests. Isn't there a man from among you who is wise? So, a wise man, he thinks with his aql, not with his private parts. A fool thinks with his private parts. The imbecile, the fool. The wise man thinks with his aql. So what did Prophet Lut say to them? أَلَيْسَ مِنْكُمْ رَجُلٌ رَشِيدٌ. The Arabic word Rashid means a wise person. The 9th characteristic is that he is hardworking. Because Allah said in Surah 53, verse 39, لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Man will only accomplish that which he strives for. Surah 53 verse 9. Sorry, Surah 53 verse 39. وَأَنَّ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Surah 53 verse 39. Man accomplish that which he strives for. Also, you are not supposed to beg, because those who beg will have no flesh on their face on the day of judgment. A real man is not a freeloader. A real man doesn't live off his wife like a parasite. A freeloader is a man who lives off his wife like a parasite. He doesn't work, but he expects 3 meals a day. And he beats her if she doesn't cook 3 meals a day. These are the freeloaders. A real man is hardworking. He doesn't beg off others, because the beggar will have no meat on his face on the day of judgment. The 10th characteristic of a good husband is that he is jealous over his wife, because of the hadith where the Rasul said, the man with no jealousy over his wife will never go to the paradise. The man with no jealousy over his wife will never go to the paradise. Please bring me the hadith where the Prophet said 3 people will never go to the paradise. 3 people will never go to the paradise. Please bring me the hadith, and one of them is the man who has no jealousy over his wife. The one who disobeys his parents. 3 people will not enter the paradise. Allah will not even look at them on Judgment Day. The one who is disobedient to his parents, the woman who imitates men, and the youth. The youth means the man with no jealousy over his wife. The 11th characteristic of the husband that you are looking for is he should appear handsome in your eyes, in your psyche. He should appear to be handsome in your eyes. Somebody you can live with, and he is pleasant, his face is pleasant. You don't find his face to be repellent. Because of the hadith in which Fatima bin Qais said, I don't find any fault with my husband in regards to his deen or his character, but I hate kufr. And the Prophet said to the man, Aqbil al-hadiqa wa tutalliquha tatliqa. Take back your garden and give her 1 divorce. This is called khula, a woman divorcing her husband because there was no chemistry in the marriage. So you are not allowed to accept the proposal of a brother until you are absolutely sure about the chemistry. Sister of Abdullah bin Ubay came to the Prophet ﷺ, I have nothing against Thabit ibn Qais as regards his religion or his behavior, but I hate to commit any act of kufr when I am a Muslim. The Prophet said, will you give him his garden back? Will you give his garden back to him? Mahar being a garden? She said yes. So the Messenger of Allah sent word to him, take back your garden and give her 1 pronouncement of divorce. Okay, shukran for the Takhrij, Fath al-Bari, Kitab al-Talaq, Bab Khula. Khula means a woman divorcing her husband because there is no chemistry. But if she is divorcing her husband because he beats her up, she doesn't use khula. She uses a different system which is called fasakh. And fasakh is annulment. If you are divorcing your husband because he is evil in character, you don't use khula, you use fasakh. Khula is when you are divorcing him because there is no chemistry. It was an infatuation. But fasakh is when you divorce him because of his evil character. With fasakh, you keep the dowry. With khula, you have to return the dowry. And that's the difference in the 2 divorces. So, the man that you are getting married to should at least appear handsome in front of your eyes so that you don't have a problem to consummate. Because this Sahabiya said, when he comes to have sex with me, I feel like spitting in his face because there was no chemistry. For her to go to bed with him was difficult, it was laborious. Difficult and laborious because there was no chemistry. The next chapter, what are the characteristics of a good wife? I've given you the characteristics of the good husband. The next chapter, what are the characteristics of a good wife? The first characteristic of a good wife is that she is pious, just like the man. She should be pious. And the evidence is that the Prophet said, Tunkah al-mar'a li-arba'a. Men normally marry women for 4 reasons. لِمَالِهَا وَلِجَمَالِهَا وَلِنَسَبِهَا وَلِدِينِهَا فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتَ الدِّينِ تَرْبَتْ يَدَاكَ. For her beauty, her nobility, her wealth, and her piety. The Prophet said, go for the woman with piety, she will help you to enter the paradise. So, this is the hujjah used by the scholars to say that the very first characteristic of a good woman is piety. And when you pray, you say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, give us the good of the dunya and give us the good of the hereafter and save us from the hellfire. The good of the dunya are 4 things: a pious wife, a spacious home, a reliable transportation, and a good neighbor. So, this is another hujjah used by the scholars to say that you should go for piety. The second characteristic of the woman, the good woman, is obedience. She should be obedient. Where is the hadith? The Prophet said the hasana of the dunya are 4 things: a righteous wife, a reliable transportation, a spacious home, and a good neighbor. The second characteristic of a good wife, she should be obedient. The Prophet said 4 things bring one joy: a righteous wife, a spacious house, a pious neighbor, and a comfortable riding animal. Reported by Al-Hakim and Abu Na'im and Bayhaqi. Okay, shukran. Please save these hadiths, all these hujjah. The topic today has a lot of hujjah. Even though I bring evidence for everything I preach, people still have a problem with the message. Subhanallah. Everything I preach, I bring evidence. Still, I have enemies. They can't accept what I'm saying. And I'm not giving my own opinion. Subhanallah. The problem is not the hujjah, the problem is your heart. You have the disease of hypocrisy in your heart. That's why you can't accept the hujjah. Some people have stomach ulcer, they can't eat some food. There is no problem with the food. Your stomach is bad. You have stomach ulcer. The food is good, but you can't eat certain food because of your bad stomach ulcer. There is nothing wrong with the hujjah I'm bringing here, Quran, Sunnah, Quran, Sunnah. The problem is your heart. You have the disease of hypocrisy in your heart. Those who can't accept the hujjah. The other characteristic of the good wife, she protects her private parts behind the back of her husband. Alhamdulillah. Yes, I was taught. Sorry. Yes, I was taught in the university I studied to bring takhrij, to bring evidence. You can't write a thesis without evidence. Okay, who protects his tongue and his private parts from illegal intercourse? I shall guarantee him in the paradise. Yes. So, the other characteristic of the good wife, the pious wife, the woman with good characteristic, marriage material, is she protects her private parts behind the back of her husband. And when she goes to a home, she doesn't uncover her hair. She doesn't take off her hijab and expose her hair to non-mahram. Some women, they do that. In front of the husband, they wear hijab. Behind his back, they take off their hijab and expose their hair to non-mahram. This is not a good woman. She's not marriage material. The fourth characteristic, she should be childbearing. The woman should be of childbearing age. Because of the hadith, تزوجوا الودود الولود فإني مكاثر بكم الأمم يوم القيامة. Marry women who are loving and affectionate, women who can give birth to kids, because it is by these women I will compete with the other prophets to have the most followers on the day of judgment. So, the characteristic you look forward to in a woman is that she should be of childbearing age. Where is the hadith? Marry women who are prolific, who can give birth to kids, because it is by these women. And this hadith is found in Musnad Ahmed. I found it in Abu Dawud. I did not know it was in Ahmed. I know it to be in Abu Dawud. Marry the childbearing woman, for I shall outnumber the peoples by you on the day of resurrection. Okay, shukran for the hadith. The fifth characteristic of a good wife is that she is romantic and affectionate. So a woman who is not romantic and not affectionate, she has no emotions, she's like a piece of stone, that is not a good wife. A good wife is romantic and affectionate. And because of that, the Prophet said, marry al-wadud. The Arabic word al-wadud means the women who are romantic and affectionate. Al-walud. Al-walud means those who can give birth to walad. Walad means a boy or a girl. In this case, it means walad, a boy or a girl. Al-wadud, the loving and affectionate woman. The sixth characteristic, she should be a woman, when you look at her, she pleases you. She should be beautiful in your eyes. The sixth characteristic is that she should be beautiful in your eyes, because the purpose of your marriage is for you to lower your gaze. The purpose of the marriage is for you to lower your gaze. So if your wife is not beautiful in your eyes, you are going to look at other women. The evidence that the wife should be a woman who appears beautiful in your eyes, Surah Nisa verse 3, فَانْكِحُوا مَا تَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. Marry women who are pleasing to you. The Arabic word taba, from the word tayyib, women who are pleasing to you, those women who tickle your fancy. فَانْكِحُوا مَا تَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. The hadith of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, go and look at her, the woman you are considering to marry, because this will help your time together to be strengthened. Yes. The seventh characteristic, she should be mild tempered. And the eighth characteristic, she should be wise. There's a hadith that says, stay away from foolish women, because they will transfer the foolishness to your kids. She should not be imbecile or retard. She should be a wise woman, not someone who is imbecile or retarded. Stay away from these women who are retards, because the kids will become a retard just like them. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. The ninth characteristic, she should be loyal to her husband. She has loyalty. Loyalty should be a trait in her. The 10th characteristic, she should dress up for her husband. So when Salman al-Farisi went to visit Abu Darda, his wife was not dressing up, and he asked her why she dressed like that. She said, your brother doesn't want anything to do with the dunya. He's fasting every day, and every night he prays tahajjud. In other words, he doesn't go to bed with me. My sexual needs are not being met. And then Salman al-Farisi reminded him, your body has a right over you. Your wife has a right over you. Your Lord has a right over you. So this Sahaba was so pious, he was neglecting the sexual needs of his wife. And she stopped dressing up for him. Why is it that Salman al-Farisi was surprised when she did not dress up for her husband? Because it is the norm for a woman to dress up for her husband, and if she doesn't, something is wrong with that woman. Then Salman said, it is true that you owe your duty to your Lord, but you also owe a duty to yourself and to your wife. So you should carry out your duty to everyone. Then they went to the Prophet and related all that transpired. He said, Salman was right. The Prophet said, what? Salman was right. You are not supposed to be so pious you ignore the sexual needs of your wife. Yes, this is the hadith I wanted. This is the perfect hadith for the topic. So, a woman should dress up. She should make an effort and dress up for her husband by wearing things like lingerie, negligee, stockings, tights, and so on and so forth in the bedroom. The next chapter, a stingy husband. The person taking notes, the next chapter is the stingy husband. The stingy husband. The scholars of Islam agree unanimously among themselves that it is permissible for a woman to take from the wealth of a stingy husband without his permission for running the household, for what she needs to run the household, to run the house. Because when Hind bint Utbah took Shahada, she gave her bay'ah to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet told her, don't commit zina and don't steal. She said, my husband Abu Sufyan he's stingy. Can I take from his wealth? The Prophet said to Hind bint Utbah, take from his wealth what you need to run the household. So the Prophet gave her permission to take from him what is necessary to run the household. I'm not ready for that hadith as yet. Please don't bring that hadith as yet. So the stingy husband, the wife is allowed to spend from his wealth without his permission, as long as she uses her discretion. The next, can a woman spend from her own money without the permission of her husband? The answer, yes, it is permissible for a woman to spend from her own money without the permission of her husband, if she is mature and she is not retarded. So a woman who is mature, wise, and not a retard, she is allowed to spend from her own money without the permission of her husband. The next question, can a woman give away in charity? from her husband's wealth without his permission? Listen to the question. Can a woman give away in charity from her husband's wealth without his permission? The answer is yes. She can give in charity from her husband's wealth without his permission. And the Prophet said, if you do that, the husband will get half of the barakah. So you can bring the hadith where the Prophet said, any woman who gives from her husband's wealth without his permission, she gets half, the husband gets half the barakah. Half the reward. She should not fast at times other than Ramadan except with the permission that she should. If a wife gives her husband property, something in charity without his permission, he will get half the reward. Yes. Bukhari, volume 7, and the number is 273. Yes, so if a woman spends from her husband's wealth to give in charity without his permission, she will get half the reward. And please save this hadith brought by Authentic Tawhid 19 for the files. Can a woman open the door to her brother-in-law? If a woman is at home by herself, can she open the door to her brother-in-law, the brother of her husband? The answer is no, it is haram. And the Prophet said the brother-in-law is death. This hadith is found in Bukhari. The Prophet said what? The brother-in-law is death, meaning it's easy for her to commit zina with her brother-in-law. This is the meaning of the hadith, the brother-in-law is death. And this hadith is in Bukhari. So it is haram for a woman who is by herself at home to open the door to her brother-in-law. The brother-in-law means the brother of her husband, because the hadith says the brother-in-law is death. Okay, shukran. This is the end of our topic, the rules of marriage. I'll pause, I'll take 5 questions. Only 5 questions. We will not come back to this topic maybe until after 1 year, because I don't like to repeat topics. We have many topics to cover. So this brings us to the end of the rules of marriage. What if the woman wants to marry a man with this Muslim characteristics and the father don't allow? Must she obey? If the man has these characteristics, that means your father is being unreasonable. So you can go ahead with the marriage, but you have to appoint your own wali. You cannot marry without a wali. You have to appoint a wali to give you away on the wedding day. Why you can appoint a wali and go ahead? Because your father is being unreasonable. If the man has all these characteristics and your father disagrees, you must appoint your own wali. Yes, you have to appoint your own wali and go ahead with the marriage, because your father is being awkward and unreasonable. Being awkward and unreasonable. Next question, please. If your father is Barelwi or Shia, if your father has dodgy Aqidah, you don't need his permission. You only need his permission when he's Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I read a fatwa from Ibn Baz saying if a woman menstruation stops in the time of Asr, she should make up Dhuhr also, and if she gets off her menses at the time of Isha, she should make up Maghrib. Is this correct? Because Aisha said they didn't make up Salah for menses. This fatwa is a bit weird and it doesn't comply with the hadith of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This fatwa is weird and it doesn't coincide with the hadith of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What was the hadith about the man who is married to a disobedient wife? Does it affect his salah? If you have a disobedient wife and did not divorce her, your salah is not accepted. You have to divorce your wife if she is disobedient. Shukran for bouncing the person with that nick. I was wondering why the admins took so long to bounce this person. I don't want admins to be sleeping in my dars. We have to give a name for this dars. It cannot be the rights of the wife and the rights of the husband. That is tonight's dars. The dars was bedroom etiquettes, the one before this. Tonight's dars, the rights of the wife and the rights of the husband. We cannot call everything the rules of Nikah. You have to split up the dars and give it different names. I live in a Bengali community in the UK, and the brothers go back home and marry women who come to the UK and spend all their money on their family in Bangladesh. And the husband starts to forget his own family and starts to be rude to his mother. Many of the brothers change so much as the day is compared to the night. Could it be that the brothers are under spells? That is a possibility that we can't rule out. They could be under spells. And some people are afraid to marry to people back home because when a woman comes to the UK from Bangladesh, from India, from Pakistan, the family expect them to feed them. You have to feed a whole family back home. If you don't want the fitna of having to feed a whole family back home, then marry a UK girl. You don't have that fitna. If you don't want the fitna of having to feed a whole family back home in Bangladesh or Pakistan or India, then marry a UK girl and don't marry from back home. Because if you marry from back home, you have to feed a whole family back home, and this can be frustrating. That's my advice to you. If you cannot afford to feed a whole family back home, marry a British girl, a UK girl. Then you won't have the fitna of having to feed a whole family. Can a woman choose anyone to be her wali? The wali has to be pious and knowledgeable. The wali cannot be just about anyone. He has to be pious and knowledgeable and knows about the rules of Nikah. If he doesn't know the rules of Nikah, then he's not suitable to be a wali. A woman choose a wali if the wali is awkward. If her wali is awkward, she has her sexual needs to fulfill and he's blocking the marriage, he keeps blocking the marriage, then she has to appoint her own wali. The brother has to be God-fearing and knowledgeable and knows about the rules of Nikah. Is it permissible for Muslims to use marriage sites, or is it haram? Person. Also, Sheikh, you said you shouldn't marry a brother unless you know you have good chemistry. Is it halal to do that over the phone and online, or only in person? You can find a person to marry online that is halal, but you are not allowed to marry the person until you vet the person in real life. You can find a person online, but you have to have interviews with the person in the flesh to be sure about the chemistry. Online is not enough. You can find a car online to buy, but you are not allowed to buy the car till you test drive the car. What if it's not a proper car? People online are very, very dodgy. Don't you know that? A sister on Facebook has 11 fiancés. One sister has 11 fiancés, and she faked her own death to get out of it. She had 11 fiancés, a woman, 11 fiancés on Facebook. She had to fake her own death to get away from it. So people online are very, very dodgy. They can be dodgy. So when you meet a person online, you are not allowed to marry the person until you vet the person in the flesh. Vet means to inspect. The word vet means to inspect the person thoroughly and scrupulously. When the person is vetted and you are satisfied, then you marry the person. That was the last question, I think. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. That is the last segment for our talk. The topic, the rules of Nikah. Today's topic was the rights of the wife and the rights of the husband. The rights of the wife and the rights of the husband. I hope to go to another topic tomorrow. This topic won't be repeated and maybe until after 1 year, if Allah wants me to live until 1 year. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la. Before I close with the dua, I'd like to thank Mujahida 101 for the notes, 8018 for the Quranic Hujjah, 8019 Maki Finger, 8021 for the Hadith Hujjah. I'd like to thank 8016 and 12 for the question and answer session. Now that you know about marriage, I even taught you how to make love properly in the bedroom. You shouldn't have any problems now. You can have the confidence to go and get married because you attended a thorough workshop. You attended a complete workshop about marriage and everything about marriage in details. So you should now have the confidence to go and get married. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.